see if you can think about what your object is, what it might have been used for, all sorts of things like that, okay? And what we would like today is to get your reactions to these objects. So we would like your ideas. So don't worry about, oh, have I got this right? Am I saying the right sort of thing? We want to know what you think about these things because we don't know that much about these objects. Okay, so we are interested to get your ideas. So don't hold back. Do say things that you're thinking. If you think something's a bit unusual or you've got something to say about it, do speak up and say it because that's what this is all about. Okay, so we're going to start by talking about what we already know about the objects, okay? So a bit like we did with the Frank Oates picture, I'm going to show you the first object and you're going to tell me as much as you can tell about it, okay? So let's unwrap it. Okay, so what can we tell straight away about this by looking at it? Yes?
It's some sort of footwear.
Some sort of footwear. How did you know that, do you think?
Because you can tell by the shape of the bottom of it that it looks like someone's foot. Also, normally for flip-flops, you'd have that bit in the middle of the two toes, and you'd have the bit coming off.
Exactly, it's familiar to us straight away, isn't it? Because we've seen things like that, haven't we? And you've used the term flip-flop. That's what we might call this. Yeah, what would you say?
I would say they're called sandals.
Or a sandal, yeah. So it's not covering your whole foot, is it? Yeah.
It's kind of got some type of pattern around the edge.
Yeah. So it has got patterning on it. Yeah.
Maybe Gilbert used it when he was in the plains of Africa.
Ah, so who did we say went to Africa? Can we remember? Yeah. That's okay. Frank Oates. So potentially, so you think he might have worn it? Okay, interesting idea. I'm just going to turn it over so you can see the other side. Anything else we can tell about it, or you feel that you know about it? Yes.
On the front,
I'm pretty sure it says like X, like XLR.
Oh, here.
Oh, it's a star.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little star.
Yeah. So it's got. I think that's patterning, isn't it? Yeah.
I've got two things. I'm not sure if I'm seeing it right, but is that like a metal thing?
Metal on it.
Yeah.
What, in the middle here?
Yeah, I mean the metal for the where you put your toes in between.
Oh, what, this bit? I don't think it is metal. So obviously when you do this, you will be able to feel the objects themselves. But I'm feeling that, and that doesn't feel like metal. So do we have an idea what material it might be made from? Yeah.
Because I think it couldn't be metal because of the way that you said it doesn't feel like it.
Right.
So it might be leather, and because it's quite old, it probably was like hard.
Yeah, so it might be that it's leather. I think it is leather, and that's a good point that it's old. How can we tell that it's old? Any ideas how we can tell that it's old? Yeah.
Well, on the front and the back, it's quite worn.
Yeah,
At the time, it's just sort of disintegrated.
Yeah, so if you look at the sides, you can sort of see it's started to sort of split. It looks worn. It doesn't look brand new, does it? Yes.
Well, most of the sandals and flip-flops that we wear have colours and brightness and sunshine and daisies on them. And that's just a big blob of ancient leather.
That is actually a really good point though, because that reflects a time. So do you think this is old?
Yes.
Okay. So the fact that the materials are different, so this is made from leather, what are the flip-flops you wear made from, do you think?
Well, most of the time where you put your toes in between, it's made of plastic.
Yes.
Well, and the flip-flops and sandals that I have, it's made of plastic.
Yes, okay. So plastics which weren't around over 100 years ago, so this is made of a natural material because leather comes from the skin of an animal. Yeah.
I was just going to say, the bit that you put your toes through, it could have been rubber, but it probably isn't because rubber was around in that time.
Yeah.
But it was made in Malaysia, or Malay.
Okay.
Because they could have imported it, but that would be quite hard and quite expensive.
Okay. Yeah. So we've already talked about travel a long time ago. So importing things, like you say, maybe would be more expensive. So it's probably made from the materials they found around them in Africa. Yes.
If you turn over the shoe the other way, it looks. I don't know why, but I've got two things.
Yeah.
But it looks a bit African-y. I don't know if that's a word, but like.
There's something about that makes
but
you think.
also it looks a bit like animal skin.
Exactly. Yeah. So this actually is quite worn, but I can stroke that. That's actually got the hair of the animal on it. Yes.
It was probably worn in quite a hot climate because sandals don't cover your whole feet, meaning that you're wearing them because you don't want to be like fully covered.
Yes.
So it was probably quite hot, so it might have been in Africa.
Okay.
And that's probably why it looked African.
Yeah, that's a good point. And having looked at the photo I showed you earlier of Frank Oates and the way that he was dressed, any more thoughts about who might have worn this then? Yeah?
Probably some tribes people.
Okay.
And he took one of the sandals, or a pair of sandals, as an object.
As a souvenir. That's interesting, isn't it? So if this was worn by the people that he met when he was out there, as you say, we talked about there were various different tribes that he came into contact with, maybe he kept this as a souvenir. That's quite an interesting idea, isn't it? Yes.
Or instead of taking them, they might have given it to him as like a sign of respect or something, or maybe a get well present.
So they gifted him their shoe. What do you think, how would you feel about someone either coming to your house and saying, can I take your flip-flop as a souvenir? Or someone saying, would you like my old shoe as a get well present? There's some interesting ideas there, isn't it? But we need a reason why he decided to collect it, because presumably he collected it and thought it was something he wanted to take back with him. So any ideas about that? Yeah.
Maybe to take it back to England, to tell people about what he saw and the nature and how the tribes live.
Yeah. So he wanted to see things that were different from what he already knew, went out to a completely different place, a different climate, a different culture, and this was maybe something which in Victorian England people probably didn't wear flip-flops or anything resembling a flip-flop, so that might be a reason why he took it back with him. Good thinking.
Because he was interested in nature and like exploring new places, and he went because people were worried about him, like, and maybe he needed to get better. Maybe he took it to teach them about the people who he met and his adventures, and say this is actually what happens, and you should experience it yourself.
Right, yes, to sort of promote his travels, to say, look at the interesting things I found by travelling, and you know, here's one to show you. Okay, these are brilliant ideas. I'm going to take these 2 points, I'm going to show you something different. Yeah.
There's only one pair.
It's only one pair, so there's another one in here. So it's a whole pair. So actually, that's a point, isn't it? That maybe somebody gifted them as a pair to him. That makes more sense, doesn't it? Yeah? Yes?
I'm just wondering, if he was gifted them, because his dad obviously went home earlier, unless he
That was his brother, yes,
yeah,
but yeah.
unless he was gifted them like before his brother went home, then surely they couldn't have come home somehow because he died.
So he sent lots of boxes of things home from his travels. And when he died, he had other people around him, his travelling companions, who were also able to take his things back.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
yeah, so okay. Excellent. Right, lots of really good thoughts about those things. I'm going to show you something very different now. What do we think about this? So going through the same process of what do we know, what can we tell? Yes.
like obviously not an elephant's foot because they're a little bit off with them, but it's like maybe some sort of statue made by the tribes.
Okay.
Of an elephant's foot.
Okay. Possibly like a replica of an elephant's foot made by tribes. Okay, that's a thought. Let's see what other people think. Yes.
Okay, first thing that I think of when I see that is dinosaur foot. I don't know why. It's probably because when I think of an elephant, I think of it less kind of spiked at the end and more round.
Right.
And I think it could be a sculpture or it could be a very well. Yeah.
Oh, it's a pot.
It's a pot. It's a pot.
Is it a pot?
Looks like a pot. Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking that maybe it was a baby elephant's foot, and they because they hunted probably elephants as food, and they took it off and they like hollowed it to make it as a pot.
Okay, so that's interesting, isn't it? So hunting was something that Frank Oates did do while he was out in southern Africa. Yes.
To me, it kind of looks like a tree stump.
A tree stump. Yes, I know what you mean because it's got these sort of wrinkles on it. Okay. Any other creature that it could be apart? So we seem settled on dinosaur or elephant. Elephant seems more likely, but anything else it could be?
It looks a bit like a hippo's foot, or maybe a rhino's foot. I don't
Okay.
know. One of those type of creatures. Actually, I think that's probably more likely to be a rhino because hippos are very aggressive and I mean so are rhinos, but like hippos in water. And I don't think that's an actual foot that has been carved out because I don't think it would be so solid. I'm not. I think it might.
I'm going to take this
be
person's
like a
thoughts and then I'll tell you a little bit. Yes.
I don't know why, but it looks a bit like it's metal.
It looks metal. Okay. What, like a sort of bronze or something?
Yeah, bronze.
If it
But
was a
like,
Yeah.
because I don't know, it's just like I'm not sure if it's the ankle, but like
It's shiny.
yeah, it has like this shiny thing, and it looks a bit
Shiny
like
stuff,
metal. And I'm not sure it would possibly feel like skin because if it and also wouldn't its skin like wouldn't its skeleton be there and not much of its skin, so shouldn't it mostly be so it obviously can't be a part of the actual animal because if it was that means it would have like not be here right now, so it must be like bronze or metal. And
Some interesting idea. So I'm going to tell you a little bit. So you were right, it's actually a hippo foot. And it is a real hippo foot. It's not a model of a hippo foot. If you think about the last object we looked at, that was made of animal skin, wasn't it? So it was made of leather. Okay, and I think it's probably made from cow skin. So if you think that certain sorts of skins on animals can be very thick and leathery and strong, okay? So this is actually a hippo foot from a real hippo. Now I've told you that, any other thoughts about where it comes from, why Frank got it? Yes?
He might have got it because he thought it was really interesting that they would make something like that out of an animal's body, and also because when it got sent back to England,
Yeah.
other people could look at it and say what they thought it was, and also maybe he thought it was really interesting that they would make it into kind of like a pot sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, okay. So again, to take back home to England to say, look, here's something that you won't have seen before, and remembering what we've already said about there wasn't television, there wasn't colour photography. Yes.
I think he took it home to show people that they make their clothing and footwear out of this.
this would have been made by the local people, or do you think it would have been made by somebody else? What do we think? Yeah?
Well, I've got 2 points.
Yeah.
I think the local people would have like caught the hippo, but
Right.
then maybe someone else would have like made it, because they might not have had the materials to do that, to like follow it out and everything. And
Okay.
my second point is, I think he took it home because like there was no telly, and it showed people that you can make stuff not using like all these like tools and stuff. You can just carve it out with. Like, a
So
computer.
make things from nature, do you
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yes, which would be maybe different from the kinds of things they might have at home.
It's probably a redesign from it back in the day, because it probably would have like rusted, disintegrated a little bit.
Yeah, so I think if, like we said earlier, if you take the skin off an animal and treat it in the right way, you can preserve the skin. How do we feel about this object now? What do we feel about it? Yeah.
Well, I feel a bit weird because maybe they hunted the hippo to get something off it and then cut the leg off.
Yeah.
If you just cut a leg off a hippo, I mean, I don't think that's very nice.
No. So does it tell us? It tells us something about how things have changed over time, doesn't it? This object, that you react like that. And when I first sort of got it out, there's a few people who went, "Ooh, what do you think?" Yes.
I don't want to use it anymore.
You wouldn't want to use it? No. Why not? Can you?
Well, because it probably, I don't know why. I mean, I wouldn't like to. I mean, it depends what the pot is for. I mean, if it's just for keeping stuff, then it'll be kind of okay, I guess. But I wouldn't like to put soup in it or something.
Oh, okay. No. No. It's a little bit grisly. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you feel about it?
I have 2 points. So firstly, I think the locals did make and catch it, because in Africa there are loads of hippos, and also I think they wouldn't have really been able to go to another tribe and say, hey, can you carve out this foot for me? I think they were quite independent and probably quite used to doing stuff like that, and I think they probably did it themselves. Also, I think it's not good that they have an animal foot, because I guess if the animal was already dead and then you took the foot off it, it might be better, but like
Yeah.
I just don't like it.
No. No. Yes.
Well, how it's unusual to us is probably because like we're not used to seeing an actual foot of like a hippo. Wait, no.
Yes.
Yeah, hippo. Because like if like nowadays we don't have stuff like that. We have like we'll probably have like models of it.
Yes.
Which are much
Yes.
nicer, but like probably by 3D printers or something like that.
Yes.
Like-
Yes. We've got things that
Yeah.
we could do now.
But like make it look nicer. But like for us, just looking at it, like it's a bit odd. Like you wouldn't normally see a foot of an hippo in like you wouldn't normally see it in like on shelves and make it look
No.
like accessories.
No.
And where, it's a bit like as Julie said, a bit gruesome. It's like chopping a leg off a human and then hanging it up on your wall and saying, "Look at my lovely accessory."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just it's like not normal to us.
It's not normal to us, is it? No, that's a good point. So times have changed. So how do we feel about this object now? Do you think we should display it? Do you think we should get rid of it? What do we do with things like this? What could they teach us? Now, I want to come to the person at the back there because you've been waiting a long time to make your point.
I think that actually it's kind of, I think it's actually kind of interesting and not as horrible and bleh as some people think it is. I think it's quite interesting and quite cool, personally.
What's interesting about it? What does it tell us? What story could it tell us?
That they lived near lots of animals and that they used the animals for many different things.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that you maybe don't display it, but I wouldn't throw it away.
Yeah,
Personally.
okay. Right, one more point here, yes.
I think you should display it because it tells people about how the African tribes, how the African tribes live and what they did and what they hunted, really.
Okay. So one thing to think about is I think it's actually more likely that this has come from Frank Oates or other hunters that went out from Europe to Africa as a trophy of their hunting, rather than this being something that would have been made or used by the local tribal people. Okay, so when Frank was out in Africa, although I've already said he loved nature, he was interested in nature, he did lots of artwork, he also did a lot of hunting, and he shot a lot of creatures, and people in those days wanted a souvenir of the creature they'd hunted. You might not be able to bring an entire hippo back with you, but you could have a souvenir, a part of the animal. So sometimes you see the head with the horns attached or whatever. Yeah.
And then you put
Yeah.
sometimes
So I think
they
it's
used
more
to,
likely this would have been hollowed out and kept by a European hunter than by the local indigenous people. Okay, so that reflects a change in attitudes again from our ancestors to nowadays and the way that they saw the natural world. And of course in those days there was an abundance of creatures. People didn't worry quite so much about creatures going extinct, although there were creatures in Africa going extinct at around that time because of the amount of hunting that was going on. So that's something to think about. Okay, brilliant ideas. You've had lots of interesting comments to make. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into our groups, and I'm going to give each group an object. And I want you to go through that same process of thinking, what can I tell about this object just by looking at it? You can hold the objects, but I'll give you a few rules about that before